Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week on episode 44, that's right, we're 44 episodes in, we're going to be talking about the Wii.
Yeah, 44. I didn't even realize that. 44 episodes in. That's awesome. Okay, so the Wii, probably one of the most revolutionary systems in our lifetime.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. You see what I did? That's a
We'll
little
get there.
foreshadowing. So I think the Wii really got a lot of non-video game people into gaming, and that's what was really cool about it. It kind of helped push video gaming into the masses, because I want to say before this, maybe like PS2 is when it really started, when people started really getting into video games and realizing that it's like a thing, you know?
Yeah, I think PS2 still... No, actually, well, I think the Wii is the top-selling console of all time. I think before that it was the PS2, though.
Yeah, that's when people realized they're like, oh, snap, video games actually like are a huge industry. So, but the Wii is definitely a reason for that. So if you were a big fan of cosmetic plastic attachments for your console, oh boy, did the Wii have you covered. So the idea of the Wii actually started around the release of the Nintendo GameCube, and that idea was centered.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's old, you know, and it was centered around the thought that not all gaming consoles have to be super technologically advanced next-gen gaming experiences, which I agree with.
Sunday. New Nintendo Wii.
Nintendo Wii madness all day, only on Sundays. I think... so Shigeru Miyamoto has this quote, and it pretty much sums up the Nintendo Wii. And so here it goes. Quote, "The consensus was that power isn't everything for a console. Too many powerful consoles can't coexist. It's like having only ferocious dinosaurs. They might fight and hasten their own extinction." So I love him already, and then he makes a dinosaur metaphor? Get out of here. Are you my best friend?
Oh, Shigeru Miyamoto.
So while the idea for the design was in 2001, they didn't actually begin working on it until 2003. And that's when Nintendo finally brought engineers and designers in to bring the Wii to life. And as you know, we here at the podcast, both myself and Tyler, big fans of code names, right? And the Wii had the code name Revolution. Do you see what I did there? Callback at the beginning 2 minutes ago? Craziness.
You're a masterful storyteller, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I ever wanted to hear. The podcast is over. Have a good day, everybody. And I just click it off. No. So
Took us 44 episodes, we got there.
yeah, the Revolution codename was assigned to it at E3 in 2004. Was on May 11, 2004, and it was called the Revolution. The name Wii didn't show up until April 27th, 2006.
People were just calling it the Revolution until then. I know myself and a lot of other people thought that was just what the console was going to be called.
Yeah, people were just like, it's the Revolution. It's the Nintendo Revolution. But no.
Love it.
They changed it. So, and we're going to get into some name stuff later, because people were upset by it, which I find crazy.
They were.
Okay, so Nintendo actually canceled their 2005 appearance at E3, which is a pretty big deal. So what they were going to like have a big thing there where they would show the controller is finished and all this stuff. But instead what they did is they just showed what the console would look like and then just screened demos of what was going on. They were going to have a whole thing, but it wasn't ready. They were still troubleshooting it. So they canceled the appearance of the Revolution and why it was the Revolution in 2005. And that reason, of course, is the Wii Remote and the motion controls and how crazy the console is. We'll get to all that later. At E3, they just showed off the console and not the controllers. The controller interface would not be unveiled and demonstrated until the September 2005 Tokyo Game Show. So that's about, what, May to September? Yeah, so that's like 4 months later they show off.
Oh. So at the time then, we just thought like, oh, well, this is just the next powerful GameCube. It's like, it's as powerful as a PlayStation or an Xbox 360.
Yeah.
It's Nintendo's new console, but we didn't know anything about how cool what the actual changes were going to be.
Yeah,
right?
No one knew about the Wii Remote technology. It's crazy. So here's a fun fact about the name Wii. And this is getting into the names that everyone gets upset about. So Wii is spelled W-I-I, and those two I's are intended to represent two people standing side by side playing the Wii. Isn't that cute? Okay.
Oh, that's so happy.
And here's an actual quote from Nintendo regarding the name choice. Wii sounds like Wii, which emphasizes that the console is for everyone. Wii can easily be remembered by people around the world, no matter what language they speak. No confusion. And boy, oh boy, when Nintendo nails it, they nailed it because this is probably the most inclusive video game system of all time. Like, everyone was playing it. I mean, not including smartphones, but you know what I mean. Like, this, they had pictures of, like, your grandma playing it and all sorts of stuff. So, some people didn't like the name Wii, though. They thought it was too kiddie. And Nintendo, which I gotta give props to Nintendo, too, they were like, deal with it. You know, this is the name.
The sunglasses came down and...
Yeah, they're like, we're Nintendo. We know what we're doing. Get on out of here. So, and they were right, because no one cares now. Everyone just knows it as an awesome console that everyone loves. So the Wii is also important because it is the first time Nintendo advertised a system not in Japan, because in Japan they did this too, but without the word Nintendo in front of it. It was the Wii. Everything else, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo. There was no... The Nintendo was not in the advertising at all. And the next generation Wii U would also be advertised this way. And then, of course, we have the Nintendo Switch. So
wow, I never noticed that. That's great. That's an interesting piece of marketing because a lot of other companies would have said this is the Nintendo Wii, the Microsoft Wii, right? Because they want to get that name out there. But Nintendo figured it would stand on its own without the brand recognition of Nintendo, which is huge.
Yeah, they're just like, this is just...
That's crazy. That's a big bet.
You know, I think they did it, and this is my reason why, because they wanted to make it seem less daunting. Like, the minute you put Nintendo in front of it, it makes people think, oh, that's a video game system.
Yeah, if you've already got a preconceived notion of what that means when something is a Nintendo, you might just write it off.
Exactly. And it's a lot like when they called Nintendo NES the Nintendo Entertainment System instead of video games because they wanted it to appeal to everyone.
Right, because video games at the time had kind of a stigma with it because of the crash and stuff like that.
Yeah, everyone was like, video games are dead. And they were like, no, Duck Hunt. Look how cool this game is. So, okay.
Ever play Super Mario Brothers?
If you're a big fan of launch statistics, which I know Tyler is, so we got to go into them.
Yes, huge fan. Love them.
Here are some launch statistics. On September 14th, 2006, Nintendo announced the release information. Not the release, just the information about the release for Japan, North America, South America, Oceania, Asia, and Europe, including dates, prices, and projected unit distribution figures. Nintendo also said the majority of the 2006 shipments would be allotted to the Americas, which was pretty big. Yeah, they're like, hey, we're targeting the old US of A and other countries in the continent of North America and South America. 33 titles would be available at its launch. We'll talk about those titles.
That's pretty big. That's probably bigger than GameCube, definitely bigger than the N64 launch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Wii's got those games. And the Wii launched in North America on November 19th, 2006 for a whopping $249.99, which is pretty cheap.
Much cheaper than the competition.
Yeah, very cheap.
I mean, the PlayStation 3 came out about the same day, and the cheapest version of that was twice the price.
Yeah. Oh, man, I forgot about that PlayStation 3 price. How could you forget, though? It's so much money. So here's the big thing. You know how they sent more consoles to the Americas? Mm-hmm. This is, I think, might have been one of the first times that the Wii came out in Japan after North America. It came out in Japan on December 2nd, 2006.
Wow, that's crazy because usually these things, they almost always hit Japan first because, I mean, it's their home turf, right? That's crazy.
They were really, really pushing the...
They were.
Like, we're going to sell to America all the way. Here you go. So, Australia got it then in December 7th, 2006, and the Wii launched in the United Kingdom on December 8th, 2006 for £179, which I think is pretty much... equal.
That's probably comparable.
Yeah. So the UK did have a major shortage of Wii units in many high street and online stores and was unable to fulfill all pre-orders at its release. It was some people didn't get theirs even though they pre-ordered it, which is a big, big bummer. Now you pre-order a game, it doesn't matter. It's pretty much pointless. You shouldn't do it. So that's a personal opinion jumping into the podcast. Okay.
Game systems might be a different because it's a hardware thing that actually can and almost always does go scarce.
Okay, you know what, Tyler, you're right. Tyler's here.
But you're right though about games. I'm on board. I'm totally with you.
Don't pre-order games, everyone. It's just a way for them to bamboozle you. You don't want to get bamboozled. Yep. So
nope.
The Wii was then launched in South Korea on April 26, 2008.
Oh, that's like a year and a half later almost.
Yeah, and then in Taiwan on July 12th, 2008, and then in Hong Kong on December 12th, 2009. 3
Whoa.
years after the US release. Isn't that nuts?
I wonder why that is, if that has to do with like Chinese laws around video game. Well, I guess Hong Kong is kind of outside that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
It's crazy. Okay, so here's my big question that I wanted to know during this episode. Like, this is what I thought about when I was doing all this research and I was looking things up, okay? Did Nintendo know what they were doing with the Wii? Like, did they realize how huge it would be?
Oh, like, was it an accident?
Yeah, and the answer is it was not an accident. They 100% knew what they were doing. So here's a quote from Satoru Iwata, who is the president of Nintendo of America.
Rest in peace.
Oh, yeah, it was. That's true. It's very sad. I forgot about that quote. We're not thinking about fighting Sony, but about how many people we can get to play games. The thing we're thinking about most is not portable systems, consoles, and so forth, but that we want to get new people playing games, end quote. So this is why I love Nintendo. Like, they just want to get their games out there to everyone they can, and they'll do it in any way possible. And so
that's so great.
When everyone else was fighting the who has the most technologically advanced realistic graphics and super competitive online multiplayer experience, usually associated with Call of Duty or whatever, they were like, no, we're going to completely change the narrative and break out of that hardcore gamer demographic and just target everyone. And you could see this in their advertising. Like, Wii ads started to run on November 15th, 2006 and cost Nintendo $200 million. But they had slogans like, "We would like to play," like going back to that whole Wii thing with the two eyes. And
I remember those commercials, like the guys showing up at the door and they hold the Wiimote and they say, "We would like to play."
Yeah, and then they have the other one that said, "Experience a new way to play." And then they wanted to like change gaming, and they did. So the commercials, instead of having like PlayStation commercial, it's all their games like combined together, and there's like one dude playing them, or he's like in the game. Remember that? That was like an old marketing first. So what they did is their commercials consisted of groups of people playing the Wii in different areas. So they would have like a family with grandparents and parents and kids all playing together. And then they would have like a group of cool college kids playing because they're like, this is for everybody. This system's for everyone. And the ads...
Yeah, they did kind of a similar thing with the Switch. I also remember that first video that came out was showing all different kinds of people playing Switch
and
games.
I think they really... I mean, again, I think they nailed it again with the Switch, 100%. I was talking to someone about it this weekend, and I was just like, man... got to get me one of those. Just the idea that you can like take it and play Smash Brothers on a plane by just handing someone a controller, the little ending.
Oh yeah,
that's so cool. So the ads,
I got good Switch stories. I can tell when we're talking about what we've been playing.
Oh, okay.
I got good Switch stories from this weekend.
I love Switch stories. So the ads worked, obviously. Retirees or people in the UK, they're called pensioners when people retire in the UK. I had no idea. That's a really cool thing.
Oh, fun fact.
Fun fact.
I learned.
Yeah. So some as old as 103 were reported to be playing the Wii in the United Kingdom. And there was even a story in a British newspaper called "The People That Reported Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom Has Used the Wii Console." Like, she's used it. She's doing it. Because who wouldn't want a Wii bowl with Queen Elizabeth when you think about it?
I sure would.
Yeah, I would. In a heartbeat, you know? She's probably throwing turkeys. She doesn't even care. She's crazy. I love her. Okay, so now let's talk about the Wii hardware. So we got into the whole advertising campaign. It's super successful. But what made it successful? And the answer is kind of... I didn't know this going in. The Wii is the smallest home console ever produced by the Nintendo at the time. It measures 1.73 inches wide, 6.818 inches tall, and 8.48 inches deep. I don't know if you want me to do meters. I can do millimeters if people want me to. Do you think we need to, Tyler? Are we on the metric system, this podcast?
I feel like you better at this point.
Yeah.
You're hyping it up now.
I mean, okay, so 40 millimeters wide, 157 millimeters tall, and 215.4 millimeters deep in its vertical orientation. So that's when it's sitting straight up, like the way most people had it, I feel like. So
yeah,
it's pretty much slightly larger. If you want to get like a comparison at home, put 3 DVD cases stacked together. That's the size of the Nintendo Wii. So interestingly enough, Nintendo has released very few technical details regarding the Wii, and that's for a very specific reason that we're going to get to right now, actually, and that is that the Wii is essentially an extension or advancement of the Nintendo GameCube architecture, and they probably didn't want that getting out. The Wii and the Nintendo GameCube are not that different. In fact, some speculate the Wii is only 1.5 to 2 times more powerful than the GameCube. It's not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not like the Wii specs wise is probably one of the least powerful of the major home consoles of its generation. It probably is the least powerful, arguably.
Yeah. I mean, and that showed. I mean, if you got games that were released on all 3 platforms, the Wii version almost always had some sort of graphical like compromise you were making there.
Had quite a graphical kerfuffle, you could say.
That's right.
So, I mean, overall, I think spec-wise, there's a bunch of other specs that were released on the website. I'm not going to go into it.
I do love the code names of all the chips on the Wii, because like the GameCube had, because it was codenamed Dolphin, so it had like chips called like Flipper and stuff like that. And the Wii, even though it was called Revolution, all of the chips were like several of them were like Hollywood related. Like I think one of them was actually called Hollywood, another one was called Broadway. I just think that's cool.
Oh, that is nice. I like that. So
I like code names for individual like systems inside of consoles. I think that's really neat.
Tyler loves code names so much, he likes code names inside the code names.
That's right. Yo, dog, I heard you like code names.
So we put code names inside your code name so you can code name while you code name. Okay. The Wii Remote, or the Wiimote, as all the cool kids say, which I just think it's fun to say, so that's why I say it.
Yeah, I agree.
It uses a combination of built-in accelerometers and infrared detection to sense its position in a 3D space when pointed at the LEDs in the sensor bar. Could you tell?
That's the coolest thing. Like the sensor bar is one of the coolest but most simple like apparatuses for doing something that precise, because you can point the Wii at your TV screen and you can move the arrow around as like almost as if you were using like a mouse, like on your computer, because like the sensor bar plugs into the Wii, but it doesn't actually, there's no data being transferred there. It's just for power, because the sensor bar is just 2 infrared lights that the Wii remote can sense, and so that's how it kind of knows its orientation relative to the TV. And yeah, it's brilliantly simple, and I love that.
Ooh, you heard it here first, folks. Brilliantly simple. Mm-hmm. That's nice. I like it.
That's why you could get like sensor bars that were battery powered, because it didn't need to actually. Or you could use other things too. You could use candles, because they give off infrared light. So if you had 2 candles under your TV or on top of your TV, you could use that as a sensor bar.
Really? I never.
Yep.
Have you tried that?
Yep, it works.
Oh wow, that's so cool. Fun fact. I had no idea, Tyler. You're full of fun facts this episode. I'm into it.
Thanks, Mike.
So, you can control the game with physical gestures and pressing buttons like a normal controller. So that's the 2 things you can do. You can like move it around with your hand, push the buttons on the controller. The controller connects to the console using Bluetooth, and that has a range of 30 meters roughly. So that's
not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's the same tech the PlayStation 3 controller uses for connecting to the console.
Yeah.
It's all Bluetooth.
All Bluetooth.
But the 360 controller, not that.
Yeah. So the controller also has built-in rumble and an internal speaker, which I think is pretty cool. So, yeah, I mean, and I actually realized that because when you would turn it on, it would like make that ding noise, you know what I mean? Or and also the speaker, they'd actually use that speaker for some games. So, okay, I made a kerfuffle and I just realized it right now. I was like, 30 meters, that's 90 feet. It's 30 feet. 9-meter range.
I didn't even notice that. I was like, yeah, 30 meters sounds right.
Dude, yeah, I just was thinking about it. I said that out loud and I was like, that's 90 feet. No, it's 30 feet, 9 meters. So there you go. Correcting ourselves while we do it. Okay. So also another thing about the controller is you had a wristband, and that wristband is very important because that's what made sure you didn't throw your Wiimote through your television.
Yep. You had to be using that wristband.
Oh, yeah. Unless you, if you're a big fan of going on YouTube and laughing, I highly recommend looking up Wii Remote no wristband videos because, oh boy.
It's painful. And back in those days, people still use CRT TVs.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there's some good glass.
Good glass breaking, good explosions, good stuff. There's people getting really mad while they Wii bowl. Accessories could be connected to the Wii Remote through a proprietary port. I didn't know it wasn't like a standard port. They actually made it so you had to like go through their stuff. But that kind of makes sense for Nintendo because Nintendo's all about having their own proprietary things. So the main accessory you would use was the nunchuck, which came with the console. It was just a little side thing that plugged in with a cord and you held in your other hand, and it had like an analog stick and 2 trigger buttons. It also had an accelerometer inside of it too. So that's kind of cool. Learn that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
There was another accessory called the Wii Motion Plus, which fine-tuned the Wii Remote's existing sensors and gyroscopes to allow for finer motion detection. Eventually, if you bought a Wii, that just came in the new remote, which was called the Wii Remote Plus. So if you got a Wii and it has a Wii Remote Plus, don't worry. You got Motion Plus built right inside of there. You're good. You're doing great stuff.
Yeah, and that was way better. That was, I think, one of the games that required that was Zelda Skyward Sword. And it was pretty cool for that because it allowed you to actually move the sword like you're moving it in your hand. Whereas when Twilight Princess came out, the Zelda Twilight Princess, when you swung your sword by shaking the Wiimote, it was really just like pressing a button. It was like the thing sensed that it had been shook, so Link used his sword.
Yeah, it wasn't really
the
timed
Motion Plus
out.
sensor made that really awesome.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And the last thing I wanted to mention on the this controller attachment. Actually, this isn't the last thing. I got a lot more stuff. Never mind. At E3 2009, Nintendo presented a vitality sensor. Did you know what this was? It would measure a person's pulse.
I remember when they did that and they showed no games for it. They were just like, and we can measure your pulse. And everybody was like, oh, cool. That's neat.
I was wondering if this was like specifically for Wii Fit.
Maybe.
Like if this was something they were like doing for Wii Fit before Wii Fit would come out. They're like, oh, we're kind of
maybe that would make sense.
Because that would be a reason why you'd want a vitality sensor in there. So, in a 2013 Q&A, by the way, Satoru Iwata revealed that the vitality sensor had been shelved because internal testing found that the device did not work with all users and its cases were too narrow. So, yeah, the vitality sensor never came out. Just a little fun tidbit, you know? Welcome back to Fun Tidbits with Mike and Tyler. That's our name of our new podcast about tidbits. So, the classic controller is another cool extension for the Wiimote that is just a classic gamepad that looks a lot like it kind of looks like a Sega Genesis controller, weirdly enough, more than anything.
Yeah,
it's got that rounded shape
with joysticks, basically. Yeah, it's like almost like a Super Nintendo controller with joysticks.
Yeah, so that came out, and you could use that in the older games from the Virtual Console, which is a store on the Nintendo Wii Online service, which we will talk about momentarily. If you actually connect the controller to let's say you're a company and you say, hey, we made this controller and it has a plug-in in it. And then if you put something in the plug-in, it can take the shape of whatever you want to make. And wow, were there a lot of add-ons for the Nintendo Wii.
Oh, yeah.
The two official ones that come to mind are, of course, the Wii Wheel for Mario Kart, which is one of the greatest inventions of all time. It made me so happy as a child. And when I say a child, I mean a man in college.
It's just a piece of plastic, right?
Yeah, it's just
the
a
Wii wheel.
It's just a wheel. It's just a plastic wheel. Yeah, you could do the same thing, just holding the thing sideways. It just made you feel good, you know?
Yeah.
There was also the Wii Zapper, which was a gun that was kind of like a nod to the old NES Zapper gun, you know? But I don't think there were a lot of games you could really play with the Zapper gun.
I mean, anything that used that was like a first-person shooter or something kind of worked with it, because I think that was also just a piece of plastic, right?
Yeah.
You just held the nunchuck.
Yeah, it just held the nunchuck in the back, and then the Wii Remote. No, the Wii Remote in the back, the nunchuck in front, and you held it with both hands. I was wondering if you could do it with like Metroid Prime.
Oh, probably.
I don't know. We gotta look that up.
Yeah, that might be a good use case for that. I think the game that they were selling with it was the Link's crossbow training.
Oh, because who doesn't want to just train? You know, what a great game.
Yeah,
we're just working,
especially with Link. I would train with Link crossbow training.
All right, there were also, and this is the fun part, so many third-party attachments. Like just, I can't imagine all the landfills filled with just plastic Wii tennis rackets, golf clubs, baseball bats, whatever. You name it, there's a plastic attachment sitting in a dumpster somewhere for it, because it's like just littering every single Goodwill. I think they just started throwing them away, I'm guessing, because there's just so many.
Yeah, because they don't actually do anything. They're literally just pieces of plastic that surround the thing. So like maybe they made it fun the first couple times you were using it, and then after that you were like, I don't even need this thing to play this game, so I'm just not going to use it.
Yeah, it's just a waste. A complete and total waste of plastic, but hey, it looked real sharp, and you, as a kid, you probably felt really cool having your Wii tennis racket. You'd pull out of its tennis racket case when you took it over to your friend's house to have a Wii tennis tournament. That had to happen, right? Had to.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
as far as memory goes, the Wii contained 512 blocks of flash memory storage. Ooh, right? Exciting. But Nintendo also included an SD card slot, and you would use that SD card slot so you could download games from the Virtual Console. And you're like, now, hey, Mike, you mentioned Virtual Console twice. What's that? Why, that's Nintendo's way of getting you to buy old games from, say, the NES or the SNES and play them on your Wii. That's pretty much it. It's Nintendo's online store.
They had so many games by the end. They had games for the NES, Super Nintendo, 64, but they also had games for other systems. There were Sega Genesis games on there.
Really?
There were 3DO games on there. Oh, yeah. It went deep after a while. Like, there were a lot of companies that, like, didn't make consoles anymore, like 3DO, and they were like, whoa, we can make some extra money by throwing our games on the Wii. Sounds good to me.
They were
And
just
so there was
rolling.
a lot of games that were for other things back in the day. Playing the original Sonic on a Nintendo console, crazy.
Did it feel weird to you? Did you feel like a traitor, kind of?
Feels a little weird, a little bit. And I had Sonic Mega Collection for the GameCube, and I still felt weird playing Sonic on my Wii.
I won't tell anyone if you won't tell anyone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Your secret.
And listeners better not tell anyone.
Yeah, your secret's safe with me and the listeners. You guys seriously don't tell anyone because Tyler will get.
Because that could be disqualifying from Jaybird tournament.
Oh
if
yeah,
I find
that's
out.
true. I mean, if you
Yeah.
if you oh man, the Jaybird tournament. No one wants to take you out of that. That's your
Yeah.
JBCS, right? Yeah, that's your
Yep,
thing.
JBCS is we're very strict on secret keeping as far as playing mascot characters on the wrong console.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do that. That's very
Yeah.
serious.
Nope.
It's a serious offense. It's almost as much as like taking performance enhancing drugs like Adderall or Mountain Dew. Don't do that. Just kidding. You can drink all the Mountain Dew you want if you're in the JBCS. Okay. Next thing.
In fact, it's prize. It might be sponsored.
Yeah, it's probably, I say the winner. We don't have a big budget, so right now you just win a cube of Mountain Dew if you win. Okay, here's the next thing that I didn't realize, but this is pretty crazy. Every GameCube game was backwards compatible if you had the disc.
Yeah, man.
That's
Because you had GameCube ports on the top, and it took GameCube memory cards. I mean, the thing was basically a GameCube. It was almost harder for them to not do that, you know?
yeah, and all you had to do was plug in your GameCube controller to play those games. So, and if you have the games already, you probably have a GameCube with a controller. Also, if not, you could just buy a controller and the game, and that's all you would need to do backwards compatibility, which I think is really cool. You could play a little Double Dash on there, you know?
Yeah.
The Game of Kings.
And I did.
Game of Kings. Okay. Wii Online was not just the Virtual Console. Sorry, everyone, if you thought that. They had things like Wii Connect 24, the Internet Channel, which is just a browser, the Forecast Channel. Hey, you like weather? They got it. The Everybody Votes Channel, which is one of my favorite things.
What was the Everybody Votes channel?
They would just ask questions and people would vote on it. It's all it was. It was amazing. Like just random questions. I went to it one night and I'm like, this is so crazy. Why doesn't everyone do this all the time? It's so fun to just surf and look at.
Were they like people asking questions, or was it like Nintendo asking Wii
I think it
users
was a mix
questions?
of both, but they were also
Okay.
just like weird questions. Like it was like coffee or soda or like,
You're like, I guess I'll pick one.
you're like, all right, this is cool. The news channel, which was just news, and the Check Me Out channel, the MII Me's, the Me's that you would use in your to just show your avatar is what they did. They called them the Me's, so you would just show your guy off on there. Now, when it came to actual online play, I will say that was the Wii's weakness.
Oh man, Nintendo still hasn't got.
They're still
Right,
goofing
on that
with that.
front.
Yeah, so there was no party chat. The friend system involved getting a friend code that you had to find.
Oh,
And it was like
that
a long
system
set of
is like-
numbers.
yeah. I think what they were going for in that was they were like, look, we don't want anybody to be friends with anybody they don't know, so we're going to make this as difficult as possible so that people really think twice about giving people their friend code. because you couldn't just be like, oh hey, I'm Sneaker Elf on the Wii. You had to be like, here's my friend code, and it was like tied to the console and not to an account. Same with game purchases. Like if you had to send your Wii back to Nintendo to get it refurbished, like getting your games put on the new system, like if they gave you a new system, could be a real nightmare because they weren't locked to a Nintendo account. They were locked to the console itself.
Yeah, which I think is they need to get you just because they have Nintendo accounts now, right? They have the My Nintendo thing or whatever.
Yeah, they do now.
But it's still bad. They just need to get that together because that's the number. Like I want to play Mario Kart with people online, and I want to have.
They
trophies.
did the friend code thing with the DS also, and it was different friend code. So if you were like, oh yeah, let's play Nintendo games together, you're like, well, here's my Wii friend code, and you had to like write it down and hand it to them. Like you had to have your friend code printed on a business card, basically. You had to have 2 business cards because you had your Wii friend code and your DS friend code.
I still give out those friend code cards, my business cards.
Yeah, you still have your business card.
Yeah, I put them in fish bowls at restaurants, see if I can get a gift card. You know what I do. You know how I do it. And they're like, how do we contact this guy? And I'm like, you got to find my Nintendo 2DS friend code, obviously. You got to type that in and send me a message. Okay, so another thing that was cool about the Wii, there was some connectivity between the Wii and the Nintendo DS, where you would connect wirelessly and you wouldn't need any accessories. Like it's essentially like your DS would become
all Wi-Fi.
A controller. Yeah, I use that Bluetooth. So you could battle in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl between 2 people using a DS as a controller. And you could also use the Nintendo channel to download demos directly to your DS from your Wii, which is kind of cool because game demos.
I remember that.
Yeah, who doesn't love a good game demo? Okay.
Yeah.
This is where I've stopped us right now for the episode. It's a short episode today. I apologize, listeners, in advance. The reason it's short is I feel ill. It just came on all of a sudden. I'm not feeling too hot. Okay. Next week, we're going to have a lot more about the Wii. I promise you it's going to be a long episode. Right, Tyler? Can we promise them that?
Oh, yeah.
Like
I can promise that.
We have so much more to talk about. The games alone are going to take us an hour. So just because there's so much love and experience. I could talk about Wii Sports for like an hour. I think about it.
Oh, yeah. We could do a whole episode on Wii Sports.
Oh, man. Wii Sports is the best. But I feel ill, and I know you're understanding. But we wanted to get the episode tonight because we want you to have it on your Monday morning. You know? You got to have that. So with that, Tyler, what you been playing?
Well, this weekend, I went to my little brother's wedding, and he has a Switch, Nintendo Switch, and for bachelor party shenanigans, part of what we were doing was just kind of playing games at his house, and we played just a ridiculous amount of Tetris 99, like a really unhealthy amount of Tetris 99 between all of us. Tetris 99 is your standard Tetris game, but it's a battle royale Tetris, which is not. There are not 2 genres of games I would have crossed. But so somebody at Nintendo was like, "Hey, I got this great idea, Tetris," and everybody around the table said, "Yeah, Tetris. Okay, I'm on board." And then they said battle royale, and everybody around the table said, "Yeah, I know what a battle royale is. Okay, I'm kind of on board." And then they said Tetris battle royale, and everybody around the table must have been an even split. They're just like, half the table was really excited. The other half was like, how is this going to work? Here's how it works. You play Tetris like any other Tetris, but on the sides of your Tetris thing, you can see 100 other people or 98 other people playing their own Tetris game. And as you clear lines, you send garbage to those other people. And when other people lose, they're out, like in standard battle royale fashion. And your job is to last as long as you can, hopefully to the end, be the last person standing, while sending garbage out to other people. And you can kind of pick who you're sending garbage to, and there's some strategy that happens there with how you do garbage, especially later on. And the game gets faster and faster. I think the highest I saw someone get this weekend was 6th place. So there's a lot of room for skill expression there. It is absolutely crazy. It's so fun because, like, on the surface, it's just playing Tetris. Like, if that's all you want to do is play Tetris, you can totally do that. But then, like, getting the strategy down of how to deal with the garbage as it comes through and how to send garbage to other people is really fun. And it's a really cool, fresh take on Tetris. So I played a lot of Tetris 99 this weekend. We played a little bit of Mario Kart as well, and played a little bit of Smash Brothers too. But it was mostly Tetris 99 because there's a lot of downtime during like a wedding when people are like getting ready. So there's like some people are getting ready, some people aren't. So it's always good. Like somebody was always there playing Tetris 99, and then the other people can just watch and like tell them what to do and get mad at them when they mess up. And stuff.
Dude,
It's great.
I love that. That's a great thing to do. Now everyone should have a wedding Switch. You know what I mean? A wedding Nintendo
and
Switch.
It's free if you have the Nintendo Online thing, which is like $20 a year if you have their equivalent of Xbox Live.
I heard if you buy that,
it's free.
You also get a bunch of other free games too.
Yeah, they have a bunch of NES games on there too. I'm hoping they add a lot more to that because I think that could be Nintendo's killer thing is if they're just like, yeah, $20 a year plus you get all these like NES games, the Super Nintendo games, like that would be really, really cool.
Man, I did a show yesterday in McCleary, Washington. It was a private comedy show, right? Like I'm just doing 30 minutes for a high school fundraiser. Okay. I do my video game jokes. It goes okay. I get off stage. Great. One dude comes up to me and goes, "Yo, dude, I love that Zelda joke." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then we start talking about the Switch for like 15 minutes.
Nice.
And I was just like, man, he's like, "You got to get one." I'm like, "Dude, I 100% agree." He's like, "You got to get one." And he's like going through it because he told me that he would go on a plane with his buddy and they would take this little side controllers off and they could still play Smash even on those little controllers. Yeah. And I'm like, that's mind-boggling that you can still play Smash Brothers on those little things and not have that many buttons. It's nuts. So it's
really fun. Yeah. It works pretty well. I mean, they're small, so it's not the best, but you know, in a pinch, it's real nice.
He was like, he told me, he was talking about it, and I'm like, dude, I know we just met, but this stranger must just convince me I need to spend $300 and get a Nintendo Switch. Let's go into some debt. No.
All right.
Yeah. But I haven't, you haven't played anything else, by the way? I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's pretty much it. What have you been playing?
I've been playing so much Apex that my eyes are bleeding, I think. It's bad. It's like I'm doing that thing when you really like a game, especially a multiplayer game, where you're like, all right, this is the last one. And then you say that like 5 times. And then you're still playing. That might be why I don't feel so good right now, to be completely honest.
Because you have to, if you lose quickly, there's like a threshold where you go, well, that one doesn't count.
Exactly.
And so then you have to do another one, and then you've done like 6 other ones, and you've played for longer than you would have if you had even won the first one.
And you know me, Tyler, because we played Battle Royale games together. I'm a big fan of the spicy drop. I love a spicy drop. Mm-hmm. You know, I like a Doritos Locos drop, if you will. I like it to be crazy. So I'm all about that. And so when I do that, every time I'm like, well, that can't be the last one because we died immediately. And it's just like a cycle of that. So I've been playing that. Destiny's Season of the Drifter started this week.
Oh, I got to get on that like tomorrow night. I think I'm going to go hard because I need to get a lot of my milestones done before reset.
And Tyler and I played it together, and I don't have a review yet for like a personal review. But right now, I think I still have that feeling like I'm kind of Destinied out. And
really?
Yeah, only because I like to play it with you because you're my friend, and I have fun playing games with you. But I tried to solo queue it while you were gone, and it had this like punishing feeling when I was playing Gambit, and it was just not going my way, and it just didn't feel fun. And
we'll go ham tomorrow night. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's why I was just not having a very good time playing, because it's also so new that everyone's learning the mechanics, including myself. So you lose a lot, and that never feels good. Just even lose.
Yeah, and it's frustrating when you know a thing and no one else does, or when it seems like everybody else knows something and you don't.
Exactly, and so that was why I was having a rough go with it. So I kind of pulled off from it this weekend. I played a lot of it during the week because I found out too. You use those Gambit bounties. There's so many of them each day that you can level up your Gambit rank really quickly with those. Like I'm already almost mythic because of those bounties, and I only played like maybe 3 hours. It's nuts.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
that's crazy.
Which is kind of cool because more people will get that Dredgen title, which I know some people don't agree with, but I'm like, hey, you know, I don't have the time to grind out a title, but I'd really like one. That'd be neat. It's cool for that reason. But yeah. I hopefully we'll play tomorrow, and then we'll report back next week with our findings, and it's probably gonna be a lot better. It was hard. It's hard to have a PvP expansion, I think, for a game like Destiny, because it's like, but I guess the Reckoning's the PvE part, huh? That's true. There's the Gambit Prime, which is like PvP and PvE elements, and then there's the Reckoning, which is all PvE. So once you do that, It's good, but we'll give it a full review next week. I don't want to say what I think now. I'm frustrated, is what it was, because you were gone and I got lonely.
Aw.
But yeah, it was fun. So, we got a great review. Can I read the review to you?
Yes, please.
Oh man, reviews coming out of the woodwork. Thank you so much. It's from Tantuar, Tantuar, Tantuar. I think it's Tantar. That's what it sounds like to me. If I'm reading things based off of Pokemon spelling and pronunciation, then it's Tantar. Interesting and fun. 5 stars. Love the podcast and look forward to the off-the-book stuff in the future. Boy, we do too. Always listen to on my breaks at work and love the relationship between you guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Tantar. We are also looking forward to getting off this timeline and getting into some of that nitty-gritty. You know what I mean? And getting into some like hyper-focused like history of certain series or history of genres or something along those lines. Industry-specific things like esports or whatever. So
yeah, it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, good stuff. And I'm very excited to talk about it. And we are too. And thank you for leaving us a review. If you want to leave a review to us on Apple Podcast or Stitcher or Google Play or Spotify, we would really appreciate it. It means the world to us. Thank you so much for listening. Again, can't thank you enough. Tyler's on Twitter at SneakerElf, ELPH. I'm on Twitter at Mecoletta, MECOLETTA. You can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can also just put a message in a bottle and throw it in the ocean and hope we find it.
That's true.
You could do that. And then if maybe 20 years down the road, when we're doing episode 5,000, I'll be like, I found a bottle in the ocean, and I'll open it and it'll talk about our podcast now. Be like a little time capsule for us. So that's
can't wait
for it. But thank you all so much for listening. Tyler, could you please say goodbye to the listener in a way that represents your excitement while playing Tetris 99?
Goodbye. That's what I say when I get a Tetris and all 4 lines disappear.
I love it. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.
This has been a Podaholics Comedy Network presentation. Podaholics.com